Hi everybody, we will continue with the next chapter in social studies, that is the Stone Age of wandering life. Okay. Now what does wandering life mean? Wandering life means early men, they did not stay in one place. They roamed from one place to another. They moved from one place to another. Now why did they move? In search of food, in search of water. So that wandering life we are going to learn about. Okay. So, the Old and Middle Stone Age. Now, from the Old and Middle Stone Age, the sources, from those sources, scientists came to know more about early man. What are the sources? What are the tools they used? Okay. So, first come tools. Most of the tools were made out of stone. So, in our previous chapter, we learned most of the tools that early men used were made out of stone. Tool makers hit one stone with another stone until it had a sharp edge. So they took two stones and they hit it on each other and then chipped it and got a sharp edge. When the tools were held comfortably in a human hand, they were called hand axes. So when they could hold that stone comfortably, the sharp edge was below, and they could hold it properly, and that was called a hand axe. And slowly these tools got better. So as time passed, then these same tools became sharper, thinner, and then they used wooden handles also. They became thinner and sharper. Most of the tools were made out of stone or bones. So from the caves, the scientists found stones and bones, and from them we come to know more about these people. How the tools were made? This is an image that can show step by step. They took a stone, hit it, chipped it, okay, and then they again grazed it, and then slowly they got a sharp edge. And when they held it in the hand, then it was called an hand axe. Now, early tools. Early tools, they look something like this. You can see an image. Many different types of tools are there. These are the same tools that were found in the caves. Okay? Early people used these tools for hunting. So, what did they use these tools for? Hunting, fishing, digging, sewing. Okay, so you mean stitching the clothes, okay, etc. This age or period was called Stone Age. Now, why was this called Stone Age? Because they used tools made out of stone only. It had three phases. Three phases. Scientists divided the phase. Okay, depending on the types of tools that were made. So, depending on these tools, they have divided three stages. Okay, what are the three stages? The three phases of the Stone Age. Now, Stone Age is divided into three phases. What are the phases? Paleolithic Age. Okay, pronounce this word correctly. Paleolithic. P-A-L-E-O. Paleolithic. Paleolithic Age or Old Stone Age. Okay, that is the first phase. Then came Mesolithic. Mesolithic Age or Middle Stone Age. And then Neolithic Age or New Stone Age. So they have divided it into three phases: New, okay, Old, Middle, and New Stone Age. Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. So let us learn about the phases individually. First phase, the Paleolithic Age or Old Stone Age. The tools were made out of stone, wood, and bones. Stone tools like hand axes having sharp edges were used. So something like this, and hand. They used the hand to hold the stone tools. So then that age was called Old Stone Age or Paleolithic Age. Next comes the Mesolithic Age. Now in this, the tools were smaller. They became smaller. Okay. Sharp stone tools that could be fitted into wooden arrows. So here you can see a stone tool fitted into a wooden handle, okay, that could be used as a spear or an arrow or spears. Okay. So then this age became Mesolithic or Middle Stone Age. the difference between Paleolithic and Mesolithic. That time they used only hand axes. Now they are using wooden handles as spears and arrows. Okay? The same tools, but it became more sharper and could be attached to a wooden handle. So then that age is called Mesolithic. Then comes Neolithic age or New Stone Age. Please pronounce these words correctly. Okay? Neolithic. The tools were finer, much finer than the Mesolithic. They became thinner and sharper, and then they were polished also. So you can see the difference between the tools previously and now. They polished. They continued to use bones and wood, but they still continued to use stone, bones and wood. Okay? But this age, the tools became more sharper, polished also, more fine. So this is the difference between the three phases: Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. Now, early men, where did they live? They lived in caves. Caves were used as shelters. Okay? Why did they use these caves? To protect themselves from cold and from rain also. So when it rained and it was very cold, they went into these caves and they lived there. From these caves we come to know a lot about them. Okay? Because scientists went into these caves and found bones, stone, tools, and then paintings. Okay? So you'll find art that they drew on the wall. In many parts of the world, drawings and paintings have been found on the walls of these caves. So when they went inside these caves, they found these drawings. Here is an image you can see. Okay, the drawings. As it is dark inside the caves, they probably use fire. So two important things, remember in our previous lesson we learned, human beings learn two important things. Okay, how to make tools and the discovery of fire. So the fire they lit to see around, to keep themselves warm, as well as that same light which gave helped them to draw on the wall. They could see and then they started drawing on the wall. And from those drawings we learned a lot about it. As it is dark inside the cave, they probably use fire to give them enough light to draw and paint. From these paintings we come to know a lot about the people around them and how they hunted. So from these paintings you can see an image. It is there in your books also. So how the people lived, what they hunted, okay, how they lived around, what tools they used. Then, early men or early people were hunter-gatherers. Hunter and gatherers. Hunter, why? Because the men used to go hunting animals, so they were called hunters. And gatherer means the women. What did the women do? They looked after children and they went into the forest to gather vegetables, fruits, nuts, okay, and seeds. So early people did not know how to grow their food. So their main aim was to find food to be able to survive. What do you mean by survive? Stay alive. So this is a new word, survive, stay alive. We call them hunter-gatherers. So they hunted as well as they gathered food. They lived by hunting wild animals, fishing, and by gathering food such as fruits, nuts, vegetables, and honey. So this is what they hunted. They fished. They did fishing also. Okay. And what did they gather? Fruits, nuts, vegetables, and honey. At that time, the earth was rich in plants. So nowadays you see a lot of buildings, factories, okay, vehicles moving. That time, with no road, only jungle. The earth was full of trees. Okay, so it was rich in plants and animal life. They depended on the environment. They depended on the environment for food. So most of the food came from the forest, from hunting animals. They moved from place to place, wandering over large areas in search of food and water. So they moved from one place to another. Why did they move? Because food finished. So when food finished in one place, they moved from one place to another. So that is why it was called a wandering life, okay, a nomad life. moving from one place to another. They did not settle in one place. Like we have a home, permanent home, address. That time they did not have. They just moved and then came back. They had a very good understanding of the environment. They understood the environment very well. They learned. They saw that it rained now. So what they should do. Okay, then vegetable was raw. Now it's become dry. That is why they were called skilled people. The men hunted in groups. They hunted elephants, the buffaloes, deer, giraffe, and wild pigs. So what did they hunt? Elephants, buffaloes, deer, giraffe, wild pigs. And how did they hunt? They hunted in groups. Now why did they hunt in groups? That's also a reason. Because the animals, they cannot hunt. That time they were using primitive type of tools, the stone tool. Okay? So if there was a big group, they could chase the animals, make the animals tired, and then kill it. So they needed a lot of people, so they lived in groups. And this group helped them a lot in hunting and in searching food. So here you can see an image how they hunted in groups. Okay. So what did the women do? Here is an image what the women were doing. The women looked after the children and gathered fruits, roots, berries and seeds. So the women looked after children. Okay. And they went into the forest and gathered fruits, roots, berries and seeds. They knew which plant and seeds could be eaten. So this is how we know they were skilled. They knew which plant to eat, which vegetable to eat, which fruit to eat. When the fruits and berries ripened, so they also knew when it ripened and where they grew. So where they grew, they had to go to that place and collect it. So that is how we call them skilled. Okay, they understood the environment very well. So image of what the men did and what the women did. Okay. The hunter-gatherers lived in groups. And why did they live in groups? Because they needed each other to hunt, to carry food. So when they were hunting, okay, they killed an animal very far away. So one person carrying and bringing is difficult. So if there was a group, they cut it into pieces and then each one had to carry it back home to gather the food and to look after the children. Okay? So they lived in groups. Women looked after the children. Men went hunting in groups. Women stayed and looked after. Okay? Though wondering about hunter-gatherers survived for thousands of years. So even though they wondered about, they still survived. So this is how we know that they were smart. They knew how to survive, live for so long. Okay? This is because they knew how to live well in the environment. So that is how they survived. If they did not know how to live, then we would not know much about them. And were skilled in what they did. So whatever they did, they were skilled. So that is why they survived for so long. Like the hunter-gatherers, people today also belong to different groups. We belong to different groups like before. Okay, the hunter-gatherers, they belong to different groups. So we also belong. Which group do you belong to? Try and find out which group do you belong to. How they are important for you. So how are these groups important to you? Which group do you belong to? Try and find out. Then here is an image. How early men looked like and what we are now. Okay, a timeline of pictures showing the changes, slow, gradual change. Okay, the evolution of human beings. The timeline below will show you how long people appeared and how long they lived as hunter-gatherers. Okay, so evolution. Long path from the missing link to modern man. So the long path here, you can see apes and monkeys. Okay, apes or monkeys. Then you had Homo habilis, Homo erectus, then Homo sapiens, and then the modern man. How long they lived. And over 40 million years ago, descendants of the early primitive gradually evolved to become modern man. So do you think that the Stone Age people were less intelligent and clever than people today? What do you think? Okay. The Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert still use the Okay, the way early human beings or hunter-gatherers used to hunt. So, the Kalahari Desert, you have still people looking like early men, and they still hunt like what they do. Even in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, in India, hunter-gatherers in India. Okay, stone tools of early human beings have been found in several places in India too. India has one of the largest collections of rock paintings in the world. Most of these are in the caves of the Satpura and Vindhya Hills in Central Asia, in Central India. The most famous rock paintings are at Bhimbetka, okay, Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh. So if you go to Madhya Pradesh, go to this place, you'll find a cave with this type of paintings. So in India also, there are a lot of tools and bones and these paintings found of early culture. Now, in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, small groups of people, still like the earliest people, are surviving till now. Though through hunting and gathering, they still hunt and they gather. Their number has come down, their number has decreased. Before there were many, now it has decreased due to many reasons. Okay, due to tsunami, due to disease. And what were they called? They were called the Jarawas. Okay, what are they called? Jarawas, which is not there in the book. This is just an information for you. Just like one of the several indigenous. What does it mean? Native or belonging. Indigenous means native or belonging to a certain tribe, certain group. Okay, living in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They are called Jarawas in the Bay of Bengal. Short. And how do they look like? Images are here. Short, dark skin and curly hair, like the ones in Africa. Okay, they resemble like the African Bushmen. Okay, today, however, the tribe is on the verge of extinction. They went very small number, and very soon you won't find them. Why? Because of development. Now, what I want you to do is read the chapter, underline the difficult words, and write it 3 times each in your science copy. Okay, few words are given here: wandering, gathering, gatherers, earliest, comfortable, thinner, sharper, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, continued, needles, entrance, survive, searching, environment, skill, observe, several, central, influence, and if you have any more words, you can still write it down. Okay? Then write these words, meanings on page 16. You'll find word meanings. You can write that down also. And then draw and color the diagrams on page 13. Which diagram? A Stone Age cave painting, and on page 14, how early men hunted and what women did. So I want you to watch this video again, and I'll send you a PDF of the same notes and follow it.